Deciding to buy a home right now is no small thing. With interest rates through the roof and housing prices still feeling out of control, saying yes to a mortgage just felt overwhelming. But just a few days ago, I signed on the dotted line and purchased a condo in Florida. Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'm going to talk about how a home purchase in the US has fit into my plan as I work toward an early retirement, and more importantly, toward financial independence. I want to be vulnerable with you about mistakes I've made and invite you into my creative journey with hopes that something in my story will resonate with you and help you as you design your own creative journey. If you've watched my previous videos, you might have seen the one where I talked about how I haven't paid rent or a mortgage in 8 years. I have worked really hard to remove the largest expense that most people pay. I've done this both when I've owned homes and when I've rented. Even though I don't make a ton of money, by removing that large expense every month, it has allowed me to invest more aggressively. In the most recent example, my friend and I partnered together to rent a large house in Orlando. The main house had 4 bedrooms, and then there was a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom attached to the main house that had a completely separate entrance, kitchen, and living space. We furnished both houses, got permission from the landlord to rent the 1 bedroom on Airbnb, and then we found a roommate to rent a combo of 2 bedrooms from us in the main house. We knew that between the roommate and the Airbnb, we could cover our rent and our utilities, which we did for the last 2 years. A few months ago, we decided that we were pretty tired of dealing with the Airbnb, and instead we rented out the 1 bedroom unit to longer term renters. This meant that now our rent was still entirely covered, but it did leave us responsible for the utilities every month. In our minds, this was a worthwhile exchange since we no longer had the hassle of running an Airbnb. And don't get me wrong, I love the ability to run an Airbnb, but to make this one work financially, we had to clean it and turn it over ourselves, which is not fun and not really a worthwhile investment of my time. As our new lease term for our 3rd year was approaching, we went back and forth about whether or not to extend the lease for another year. I invited the landlord over so we could discuss it with him, and that's when we got the shocking news. The owner had decided to sell the house, and extending the lease would no longer be an option. This news came during some of the busiest months I can remember. I was a little in shock. Now, here's the thing, I travel a lot. Many of you know that I own homes in Spain and am in the middle of a renovation there. Plus, I recently purchased a camper van that I plan to travel in a lot. There have been times where I didn't have a place of my own in the US because who needs a place when you don't really have to be there and you spend most of your time traveling anyway? The only reason I really settled back down at all was because of the pandemic, but something happened during that time. I got a little bit older, and as much as I will always be 17 at heart, I'm having to be honest with myself not only about how things change physically as we get older, but I'm having to allow myself to acknowledge that the way I feel about certain things will change as I get older too. I know this may sound silly, but I have really come to love having a chair that I sit in every morning with my coffee. It's the only time of day my brain is still, and I love it. I love the routine of it, the quiet of it. But I'm not supposed to love routine. I'm the adventurer. And that's where I'm learning to be honest with myself. I finally reached the point that I'm saying I want a place of my own that I don't have to rent or Airbnb when I'm traveling, and where I can have a chair to sit in with my coffee every morning. But there's a problem. Everything costs so much dang money. Back in 2015 or 16, I purchased my first home in Florida. For just $195,000, I bought a 3 bedroom home on a third of an acre with a pool and a dock that overlooked a canal. When I started traveling, I rented that home on Airbnb and I was doing really well, paying the mortgage and expenses, plus making a small profit every month too, all while I jumped all over the world. But when I bought my first house in Spain, I had taken out a personal loan to make that happen. We had just had a hurricane in Florida, and I began to be nervous. If we had another hurricane and I was unable to rent that house out on Airbnb anymore, I would have really been financially strapped. I just wasn't comfortable with the risk. I may seem like a risk taker, but I'm not really. Most things I do may seem adventurous, but they're generally very calculated. So I decided to sell that home. And you guys, I very rarely let myself regret things. I'm the queen of reframing something negative into something positive. But when I really do my internal work, part of that for me is allowing myself to feel things that aren't always sunny. And this year, especially, as I looked for homes on the market after finding out that our lease wasn't up for renewal, I would think about that beautiful house that I sold and I would feel physically sick. Remember, I said that I purchased that home for $195,000? Well, I sold it a few years later for maybe around $220,000. Not bad, right? I made a little profit. Guess how much it's worth now? Right under $400,000. It has nearly doubled in value. And I don't even care about the value. I just want the house back. Because now, if I buy something for around $195,000, I'd get a gross house that needs work and is in a bad neighborhood. Seriously, that's what the market in my area is looking like. And every time I would consider buying some house for between $250,000 and $300,000, when I would realize that it wasn't even as nice as that house that I had purchased for less than $200,000, I just couldn't stomach it. It's the most regrettable decision I've ever made in my life. So, where did that leave me? I was shopping every day for houses all over Central Florida. Then one day, after I had decided to give up entirely, I decided to poke around at condos. Now, I never look at condos because I also never look at homes that have an HOA. Not only do I not like being told what I can do with my space, I also don't like the idea of having a monthly bill on my house that I'll have to pay forever. But there was something I had never considered that is specific to condos. When you pay an HOA at a condo, it covers things like the building structure, the roof, and more. When you own your own home, you may have to throw down $20,000 every 20 years to pay for a roof. So, one way or another, you're either going to pay for maintenance on your own home in a lump sum, or if you have a condo, you pay for that maintenance slowly over time. Obviously, condo HOA fees don't include the interior of your home usually, but that doesn't usually have the same kind of huge line items like a roof. I kind of poked around the Orlando area, but I still wasn't wanting to dish out nearly $200,000 for a condo that also comes with HOA fees. Now, there's a darling little town outside of Orlando called Mount Dora. I would love to live near the downtown of this area, but the condos and houses there are as much or even more expensive than in the Orlando area. One day, I noticed a condo for sale less than 10 minutes from downtown Mount Dora. It was in a quiet area, safe neighborhood, and walking distance to a few cute coffee shops, which is something I'm always looking for because almost all of my work is done sitting in front of my laptop. I won't drag you through all the details of the back and forth, but I ended up landing on this condo for my new home and picked up a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom for just $108,000. The HOA is reasonable at just under $350 per month. Now, it's not like it's a condo out of a magazine, but it was really well built, is in a super quiet area, has a pool, which is definitely on my list in Florida, and the location is perfect for me. The mortgage will be low enough that I don't ever have to worry about it. Also, because I've invested so aggressively, it's nice to know that I have more put away in my retirement investments than the entire cost of my new home. It just feels more secure and very low risk. But let me tell you why I like this even more when it comes to planning for my retirement. I am 44 years old, and this summer I'll be 45. Taking out a 30-year mortgage at this age means that if I only make the monthly payment, I'll be paying off the house when I'm 74 years old. And that is not okay with me. But because I was able to find a home at such a low price, even though the interest rates are high, I used the amortization calculator on my website to see just how fast I could pay down the mortgage. You can go to traveltomoney.com/amortization to see how fast you can pay down your mortgage too. Now, I have a high interest rate at 7.125%, but that doesn't matter very much if you have the discipline to make extra payments toward your principal. I'm planning to pay a minimum of an extra $1,000 per month toward my mortgage. Now, $1,000 more per month is a lot of money, but guess how fast I pay off the mortgage if I can hustle and come up with that extra every month? I would pay it off in 6 years and 2 months. 24 years earlier. How crazy is that? Instead of paying almost $150,000 in interest over the course of 30 years, with this hack, I end up paying less than $25,000 in interest. That is a savings of almost $125,000. And it means that after that, I live mortgage free for the rest of my life. So this means that if I'm 44 years old now, if I just pay that extra $1,000 per month, I'll own this home and be debt free again by the time I'm 50. This will give me the home here as well as the home in Spain, and to retire, I'll only need enough passive income to sustain my monthly bills and spending on things like food and transportation. Not only is the purchase of this home a good fit for my right now, it gives me an easier path to early retirement with a lot of options. It really feels like, short of a complete economic collapse for the United States, this is a very safe route for me, and it really meets my needs in a way that feels fulfilling. Plus, I don't have to feel so sick about the house I once had anymore. Now, I'm not telling anyone to go buy a condo. I'm just telling you why I'm buying one and the different ways it fits well into my plan. Let me know what you think of my plan and tell me all about yours too. I'd love to chat with you in the comments. Thanks so much for being here and being part of my story. I'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to join me every day, where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.